Hey, you. Check out the Decor8 Podcast, powered by Caesar North America. It's the greatest in the world, so go check it out. I mean, there's materials out there in the print and cut world and large format world that allow you to literally print on anything that then turns that into a heat transfer vinyl in which you can use on literally anything and everything you want. And I think that even something that people don't realize is like, patterns. So Caesar Easy patterns, those are all printed.
That is a huge market right now that is growing. So literally people are just printing edge to edge on a media.
Yeah.
And they will resell it to mostly the craft market.
Yeah.
And then people can cut their design into whatever they want.
Talk about startup cost though. Like for for an average, say like a print and cut, you get like a Roland.
I like them.
Yeah, I like them too. Shout out Kenny Gin over at GSG, by the way.
Oh, I got a lot of guys.
Okay, well, I got Kenny Gin, so.
Okay. Well, Daniel, Vlad, Scott Burgess.
Okay.
All those guys.
Kenny Gin, I'm faithful to you, buddy. That's it.
Anytime I make garments for somebody, let's say I'm doing 10 to 12 shirts, I always throw in decal or signed vinyl, and I'll take their logo, not my logo, because I'll just toss that.
Yeah.
Specifically take their logo, I'll print their logo, and your cost per square inch on ink is like 2 cents a square inch. So it's very, very inexpensive to throw their logo, throw it in a box, cross-promote yourself, and they'll say, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And that gets the ball rolling into other things.
That's an industry secret there. All right, so the drop wars have begun, ladies and gentlemen.
I have to comment on that because my wife, for the longest time, she loves the name Landon.
Mm-hmm.
And if we had a boy, we have a little girl, she's a year and a half.
Yeah.
She's the greatest kid ever, which I'm sure they all are if they're yours. But
I got one I could probably give away.
That's cool. I won't take it. Just Rob could probably teach him.
You need a kid?
Teach him a thing or two.
I was disassociating for about 45 seconds. I have no idea what we were talking about.
Don't worry about
I heard
it. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it.
And then my mom's voice started playing in my head.
Don't worry
where
about
it's
it.
like, when are you going to get
You're
me a
gonna be
grandson?
fine.
Yeah,
You're
what
gonna
are
be
you gonna
fine.
give me?
You're gonna be fine.
Okay.
That's funny.
No, but my wife loves the name Landon. If you think about my last name, I said hell no.
Landon Pool.
Landon Pool.
That poor kid.
Yeah, dude.
That poor kid.
Yeah.
You know, when
Olympic swimmer.
I'm not gonna bring up what they used to call me, but man, I just couldn't imagine. So I nixed that really quickly.
Okay. All right.
So let's get back to the show.
What'd you do before Caesar?
So before I was at Caesar, I was working a couple different jobs, and I worked for a fabric store. I don't know if we're allowed to
You can plug them all.
name names.
That's okay. Joann's or Michael's?
I worked for Joann's.
Joann's, good.
Yeah. And then I was also a tutor at a community college.
Oh,
so
nice.
I had like a little bit of the education background already built into me. I've had people ask me before if I was a teacher. Was never a teacher, but I was a tutor. So
Same
kind of the same thing. Yeah.
We'll give it to you.
I'd be probably the worst teacher ever. Profiling.
Hand out a good calculator.
Okay, well, this isn't about us.
Yes.
No,
it's not.
So
Lily, I have a question for you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Before jumping into the copywriting stuff and doing tutoring and stuff like that, did you have an interest in this industry at all? Did you gravitate towards this in any way?
I didn't really know about this a whole lot.
Really?
Vinyl, like heat transfer vinyl and adhesive vinyl. I knew more about adhesive vinyl before heat transfer vinyl because I had seen it more in the craft scene. I definitely came from a craftier background.
Sure.
Yeah.
My mom has sewed my whole life. She taught me how to sew. So I was more involved with kind of like handmade items.
Okay.
More so before that.
So there was a craft bug there then.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
You just didn't know.
I was just looking for something to write and craft. And Caesar kind of melded those two things together for me, which is awesome.
Okay, so what's your favorite stitch? There we go. I'll throw a curveball at you.
I don't know if it really matters.
Sad
It depends on the
stitch?
project, I guess.
Okay, I'll take that.
I was going to say
But I
sad,
knit
that's-
too, so if you want to know what my favorite knitting stitch
Okay, I'll
is,
take that.
it's a moss stitch.
A moss stitch.
Yeah, because it's got like little ridges on it.
See, I
it's
learned
really cute.
I learned how to knit. My Nana taught me how to knit. It was just something kind of cool as she was getting older for us to do together. And so I learned like a very basic stitch with knitting, and I thought I was the coolest person in the world. But the problem is she never taught me how to end it.
To do the rest of it?
So I have a cool scarf at my house that's like 350 yards long.
Well, you bring it in, and I'll show you how to
Okay,
finish it
perfect. I need
She'll
somebody
moss
to help
stitch
me.
it up for you.
Because I can do that. I can
That's
end
super
it.
cool. So I had a customer at a trade show, and they wanted to purchase a 54-inch machine.
Yeah.
And I was kind of qualifying them. What are you using it for? Where are you putting it? What's your target audience? How much do you plan on actually using this?
Yeah.
And they kind of checked off all the boxes. So when we went to make the sale, I said, wait a minute, I have to ask you a very important question beforehand. Do you have Corel or Adobe? And she goes, yeah, I have Adobe. And I said, well, what's your comfort level?
Yeah.
Great. Fine. I'm like, okay. So the unit was sold. I was unfortunately the one that had to go out and install this machine. So I get there, I set up the machine, everything's great. I go on her computer and I said, ma'am, I'm sorry, where's the Adobe at? And she goes, well, it's right there. She had Adobe Flash Player. Oh, God. That's a real thing.
No, yeah.
Really?
That actually happened.
And as we start developing this space more, I'm running into more and more problems. So today I went to a select factory that has all foam. I won't say the name. And I walk up to the door, and I realized that the sign said, please stop, which a lot of them do. Right now with the pandemic and everything going on, most stores have stop here, and you got to read a bunch of information before you go inside just to understand what their protocols are. I get that. So I go I go up to the door. I see the sign. It says, stop here. We are closed. Now, on the website, it says we're open. Nothing else. We're closed, and we're by appointment only. Mm-hmm. Okay, now we're in Michigan, and then, getting to the middle of July, where right now outside it's probably, 3,000 degrees supernova right now. It's pretty hot.
It's hot.
So I called the number that's on the sign. I had the choice. I could email them, which, why am I going to email them if I'm in front of the door? I call them, and a really nice lady answers the phone. She says, hey, this is the factory that sells foam.
So they're open.
They're open.
Someone's in there.
Somebody's in there. And I go, hey, I'm setting up a podcast studio. I'm looking to purchase some acoustical foam for a studio. We want it to look really nice for the listeners and the people that follow us and sound really good, blah, blah, blah. She said, well, you're going to have to schedule an appointment. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'll schedule an appointment. I'm here now. So, and I'm ready to buy.
Sure.
So could I, do you mind letting me in? And she says, no, you have to do an appointment. I said, that's fine. Can I schedule an appointment? And while I'm doing that, I'm looking around the parking lot, and there's one car. And actually, that one car dropped maybe their spouse off or something
for an appointment.
At work.
It might have been an appointment.
No,
I don't know. Just Rob agrees with me over there.
No. They went through the employee door.
Okay.
It said employees only. So, maybe that's where the appointment.
Maybe that's where the appointment goes.
Maybe that's where the appointments go. I don't know.
We'll
see. We saw that in 2008 with the mortgage crisis. A lot of people, what they ended up doing is buying a bunch of foreclosed homes. They flipped them, and then when the market came back, there was a house that was right across from Little Caesars Arena. If anybody doesn't know, we're in the Detroit area, so there was a house right across the street from Little Caesars Arena that went for $4 million. I
know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying? And that was a huge news story here in Michigan, but it's because of the fact that somebody invested in themselves then, and even the riverfront. The riverfront had made an immaculate boom after that happened. And I think we're going to start seeing that now. We're just tied into this industry. So we'll see it a lot more in the decorated garment industry, for sure, in the sign industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you that don't know, Patrick had a podcast previously to this. Just Rob can agree with me.
Well, speaking of that, and I was going to say this for a little bit later, but you were talking about disaster follows. You have a 9/11 story, don't you?
Oh, geez, yeah.
Uh-oh.
So, 9/11, I was actually flying in the air. So
Really?
I was in the air that morning, flying to the Fort Worth ISS show.
Did they notify you over
Yeah, and again, going back, right? I went to school to be an aircraft mechanic, right?
Yeah.
So, flying doesn't really bother me.
Yeah.
I've heard all kinds of things, and it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Pilot comes on and he says, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how to say this, I've never heard this before, but we've been ordered to land all aircraft. So all aircraft have to land in the United States.
So you know what that means.
Yeah, that's
Maybe not
bad.
everybody else.
That's not good.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we have to go back 180 degrees. So we have to go back the way we came to the first airport that can accommodate you.
Yeah.
So we were just over Shreveport,
Yeah.
almost there to Texas. We had to fly all the way back to Indianapolis.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I imagine, there's a kind of a triage you got to think about. If there's 300 airplanes in the sky and only, 70 or whatever airports can take you on at that time.
Well, they've got to take on they've got to take on everybody.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. So
There's not a lot of space for airplanes.
Wow.
So what was that like? Was it pandemonium? I mean, when you landed, did people start to realize? Because we had text, I think then. And,
We had phones, yeah. We had phones.
Well, we had our rotaries.
We
We had our briefcase cell phones.
After I cranked the phone, it got the backpack.
But I think we did have text capabilities and stuff to where
Yeah.
when you landed, you would get an SMS or something like that.
So, yeah, it was still, you couldn't get a signal on a plane. But when we landed back at Indianapolis, and they have a huge post office tarmac.
Yeah.
So planes were just stacking up, and you could look out the window and just see plane after plane after plane just coming in. Well, while we're on the ground, the pilot says, if you have a cell phone, because not everybody did then,
Yeah.
call your loved ones.
Okay.
Wow.
So, and then
might have got silent there.
and
huh?
yeah, and then you hear all these conversations, right?
Really?
Yeah.
We're under attack. The world's
Yeah.
coming to an end. Squirrels are invading. I mean,
And you're
hear-
trapped in a plane.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
trapped in a plane. You're hearing a multitude of stories. Nobody really knows what's going
Yeah.
on. It was still like 8:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
8:40,
Yeah.
probably close to 9 when we landed there. But it was later, and things were still kind of confusing.
Yeah.
One of the towers was still up at that point.
Yeah.
So
So this had to have been like 9:20 or
yeah,
9:30 in the morning or so, yeah.
none of that even makes any sense to anybody.
Yeah.
And at that time, prior to all this, there were lockers in airports. You had banks of lockers. So if you were going for an overnight or whatever and you wanted to leave stuff,
Every bag in
you
there.
could put stuff in the old lockers.
Really?
So, when your mind starts going, right? And we were one of the first ones to come back, and I think we were the third or fourth plane to unload. Now, when we unloaded, it was one plane at a time to the farthest gate at a terminal.
Right.
And they had businessmen staggered throughout the terminal as you walk through. These are all guys with suits and
Yeah.
briefcases, and they're watching all of us walk through.
Yeah, so that's intimidating.
Yeah.
itself.
And when you get to the end of the terminal, they have this cyclone gate pulled
Mhm.
with barely enough room, and there's an armed police officer there, a uniformed police officer, and another one of these businessmen. And then somebody holding the gate. So you kind of got to
Maneuver
finagle your
with
way
her,
through
yeah.
these guys, and then you go and try and get the heck out of the airport. Well,
Wow.
we weren't planning on being in Indianapolis, so we don't have a car, we don't have anything.
Right.
So we scramble, get over to the rental car place, and if you weren't going to return the car that day,
Mhm.
you weren't going to get one.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so they didn't
So how
want
do you get
you
it?
keeping it. They
Yeah.
wanted to know where all their property was at the
Yeah.
end of the day. So we managed to get a car, and as we're waiting in line, people are getting cars. I got a van, I can take 4 to Connecticut. And
Wow.
people are just
Holy
flocking to
moly.
each other. It was great to see,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
scary at the same time,
Yeah.
right? And I was traveling with one of my colleagues, and all she wanted to do was just get away from people.
Yeah.
Let's just get out of the airport. Let's get away from
As far as you can,
all this
yeah.
congestion and get to where it's normal. So we managed to get a car, and another one of our colleagues was in Chicago.
Yeah.
He was in a limousine getting ready to jump out, or a metro car, or whatever you want to call it, to get on the plane and go back home.
Sure.
Well, he doesn't leave. He doesn't get out of the car, because if he doesn't get out,
He's out.
he
He's out.
still owns that car. So he's still renting it.
Oh,
Really?
Smart man.
Yeah, well then, like 4 or 5 guys jump in from Rhode Island or somewhere on the East
Yeah.
Coast, and they start bribing the driver to take him across the country.
Wow.
And
Really?
That
so-
is crazy.
so my colleague at the time, he says, "Well, you guys can do that, but you got to drop me off so my counterparts can pick me up." They
Yeah.
dropped him off in Fort Wayne.
Wow.
We picked him up there.
Really?
So yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and we were there at a restaurant there, and that was the first time that we got to see
That's what I was going to
what
ask.
exactly
Yeah, when
happened.
did you
Yeah.
first
That was like
get
8
you?
o'clock at night.
Really?
So
Wow.
by the time we got everything there, it was a little early. It was probably 6.
Yeah.
So it was at night. We were sitting there waiting for him. He gets dropped off, and we're watching it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
First chance we get to see it.
Yeah.
So do you instantly think in your head, you're like, that could have been my plane? Like, that could have been
Yeah,
potentially me?
absolutely,
Yeah.
right? And there's all the conspiracy theories about
Right.
how many more there were.
Right,
what
right.
So if you look at that, yeah, we were flying across the country. We weren't going north and south. We were or east and west. We were going north and south.
Yeah.
Still same size plane,
Yeah.
same amount of fuel roughly. Everything is about this. Could it have been? Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Never know now.
No.
Well, we're glad you're here with us on the podcast.
So explain to me again. You said Tums taste like what?
Tums taste like drywall. I don't know why that's like so strange to you guys.
Because we don't know what drywall tastes like.
Well, I compared it to like when you go to like a pottery place and you stick your tongue to the pot before you
Nope.
paint it.
Nope, never
No,
done
that
that
doesn't
either.
resonate.
Never done that
Not at all.
before, dude.
Oh man, I definitely have a complex or something.
No,
What's
it's
that
okay.
called? What?
It's pica.
I don't want to make you feel
Pica.
bad
Yeah,
about
my
it.
mom used to diagnose me when I was young.
Well, I think she's correct.
Well, I went through like a couple boxes of sidewalk chalk in a week. She always asked, like, where is it going? There's not enough art out in the street.
Oh,
Well, sidebar.
And I'd
you
like
can
throw
put
up blue.
sidebar. You can put art on a T-shirt now
you can put our
Yeah.
with crayons. Just
right.
don't eat them.
Right.
don't eat 'em.
Well, they do have markers, right, for sublimation.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I bet those don't taste as good as chalk.
Please don't.